Thanks for tuning in. I'm Michael Winn, and I want to share with you some what I believe are very amazing method of connecting to heaven. These are 600-year-old Tingsha, or Tibetan bells. It's also actually relevant to what I'm going to share with you today. This is an ancient alchemical body-mind device. They're made out of 7 alchemical metals: silver, gold, copper, everything, and they're half a note apart. When you listen to them, the left ear and the right ear are hearing a dissonance between the notes, and automatically you shift into the center of your brain between the 2 ears and the 2 tones to reconcile them and integrate them. So what this does is causes you to shift into what's known as the core channel. The point in the brain is known as the corpus callosum, where the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere connect. But if you're looking at your body, we'll say from the next dimension up, it's just an energy field that is known as a core channel. And it connects, if you're in the Hindu model, it connects all the chakras, the Taoist model, all the 3 elixir fields, the dantians, many other systems. But what's important is that to get to communicate with heaven or with someone in heaven, you need to shift into that channel. Why? Because the left channel and the right channel, the front channel and the back channel, fire and water, male and female, they're very polarized. And that's what you move through when you're going into your personality. Those deep channels feed into smaller, we'll say, meridians of the vital organs, which then activate your senses and let you interact in the physical plane. And so if you want to go from the physical plane back, you just track yourself through the outer meridians to these core meridians and then to the very center. So that could sound complicated, but if you have the right method, then it's actually very simple. And you have to have a sustained concentration in that core channel. So I'm going to divide this talk into 2 parts. One is the method itself, and then the second part will be the context for the method. What are my decades of exploring what people call heaven, the realm of spirit, has a structure and can be known and can be explored while you're still here on Earth. And so I'll just share with you the structure that I use, that I've discovered. You don't have to believe it or not. The method will work independent of your beliefs. Okay, you try the method, it works or it doesn't. That's all. Okay, so I'm not trying to convince anybody to join anything. I'm not selling anything. I'm just trying to share with you something valuable and put it in a context that may be interesting to you and, stretch the boundaries of your awareness. So why, what are the characteristics of this central channel? Well, the main thing is that it's completely neutral, has no polarity in it. The physical realm is very polarized, okay? I estimate that the average adult is like 99% living in polarity and have 1%, which they know somehow connects back to source. They don't have their own name for it. They have just an intuition, a vague, but they know, yes, I'm connected to everything somehow. And that's coming from that neutral channel inside of themselves. And then the rest of their life is spent trying to navigate all the polarities and all the forces, so night and day, male and female, love and hate. I mean, everything's polarized. Okay. And that's the field of creativity. It's wonderful. But when you die, you lose not all, but most of that polarity. Okay. And that's very confusing. And that's why you go through a big identity shift. Okay. Needless to say. But your consciousness is still there. And so you have the alignment in the core channel. That's one point that's very important. Okay, you're not trying to align on your right arm or your left leg or something like that. You want to be coming right down the center of the body. Okay. The Taoists call this the Tai Chi pole. It's like a barbershop pole. It spirals up and down, okay, between heaven and earth. But that spiral is actually the second point that's germane here. Um, the average physicist will tell you it's just well known in material physics, scientific materialism, everything is spinning in this universe. There's the molecules, the atoms, the electrons, the protons, everything is spinning. Planet is spinning, it's spinning around the galaxies. There's nothing that goes in a straight line here. Everything spins. But you ask the scientists, well, why does everything spin? They don't know. Oh, it must be something that happened after the Big Bang or something like that. They don't know. Okay. So the explanation for this from the spiritual side, we'll just say from my contacts with spiritual beings who have moved to the other side and retain their individual will and have been able to communicate this method to me, which I'm going to share with you. The reason for spin is in order to enable spirit has to spiral in order to get down into matter. It can't just go straight down. It has to slowly take its vibrational rate and spirals down, and that stabilizes it. Okay. So that's spiraling one way, spirit down into matter. And then when you want to die and you want to shift back into spirit, you have to spiral up from matter, from body, back into spirit. So there's clockwise and counterclockwise spin. You'll notice that here on Earth, all the clocks go clockwise. So that's the realm of embodiment, clockwise. Okay. And counterclockwise is dissolving and undoing that, and you're going back to the realm of spirit. Okay. Spirit is not identical with heaven, but let's just for the moment leave that until the theoretical discussion at the end. So we need to tap these counter forces of these spirals going in opposite directions, and in order to expand the neutral point and stabilize our position within this continuous exchange between spirit and matter. And so this is what the method I'm going to teach you does. Okay, it does it quite simply and quite brilliantly. Then there's other things about the shape that we're going to be involved with, and colors and things like that. Because as you shift your vibration in matter, you move from the physical body into what's called a body of light or subtle energy. And then when that starts to vibrate even faster, it goes into a body of sound. Okay. That's the pure causal level. And that's really opens the portals into heaven. Okay. I'm going to use the recent passing of two of my brothers. They died within 4 months of each other. It's one of the reasons why I decided this is the right time to share this technology, because for a lot of people, they're not necessarily ready to transform themselves and to connect to heaven. They're still like working out, struggling on earth, what their destiny is, and whatever. So yeah, my two older brothers, Peter and David, recently passed, and I spent a lot of time with each one of them, basically teaching them this method. And I did this because I know them so well, family lines, and we'll talk about soul lines as well later. I basically projected my energy body into their heart space. And it's my belief that this actually, they responded to this, and I was spending 2 to 3 hours a day teaching them this method, this one thing, showing them how to create this double vortex, the clockwise and the counterclockwise spin, and how to concentrate that and focus their soul essence, basically extracting your soul essence from the kind of fuzziness of the personality, which is, kind of diffused into the physical plane. So this is a method for concentrating and extracting the essence of the soul, which actually bursts the personality and is holding the space for the personality. So when they got a renewed sense of their soul, it's my belief that they lived maybe, an extra 2 weeks, okay, while they were getting ready to leave. Because when the soul is very concentrated, it feeds the body energy. Even if you don't have food or water, whatever, you can sustain the body, okay? So anyway, yeah, those of you who know Peter or David, we can use them. We're going to use them as a target to help focus our energies and go into heaven. And I'll explain how that works. And for those of you who did not know them, you're just going to focus on going deeper into your own soul vibration and raising that. And in effect, raising the vibration of heaven within your embodied, physical body. So the method is very simple, okay? You're going to have two pyramids. These are four-sided pyramids. They're just like the same design as the Great Pyramid. They have four triangular sides and a square base. And the pyramids one is upside down. So the 2 points of the pyramids are meeting, okay, in a single point. And you're going to imagine and energetically, we're going to activate these spinning in opposite directions inside of your current, what you think is a solid physical body, but in fact, as any scientist will tell you, in fact, is made out of energy. And any spiritual person will tell you the same thing. There are all these levels of energy, and the question is, what map are you going to use to try and navigate them? So the first thing is important is just to relax your body, okay? And then just imagine that it's getting bigger, like that you are expanding into like an energetic copy of your physical body. The physical body is pretty dense, okay? We know that. You can touch it, solid. But if you just imagine, okay, it looks exactly like me, but it's like twice the size of me. Okay, my head, I'm taller, I'm wider. I'm just I got more space inside of there. It just makes it easier to do this. Okay. Um, yeah, once you start using this method, then the space opens up automatically. But the first time, I think it helps just to imagine that you're actually opening up that space. Okay. Now, the next thing is we have to set the axis, which is coming from the center, the top of our head. Okay. Straight down through the perineum and down between your two legs. Okay. So the Chinese model, that's called the thrusting channel or penetrating channel, Chong Mai. And some variations of an Indian culture, that's going to be called the Susumna. Some of them put it in the spines. There are some that will put it more in the center of the body. We're using the center of the body, not the center of the spine. So where are we going to position these pyramids, okay, before we start spinning them in counter-force directions? And we have to go examine their qualities and what they represent as well. So for people listening to this now, I'm going to recommend you have the 2 points of the pyramids meet at the solar plexus. This gives additional grounding, okay? The soul center is really in the heart, but it's a little bit volatile. And if you're about to die, or you think you're getting close to it, then you should do it in the heart. And I'll explain the difference between what I taught my brothers was to spin the pyramids in their heart center because we knew they were going. Okay, so that's the soul center, and that's if you don't want to come back. You start right there at the heart right away. But for right now, we don't actually want to leave the earth. We just want to have a meeting place for the frequencies, higher frequencies of heaven and the embodied frequencies of earth. Okay. And in between those, we're going to have the human frequency, which is characteristic of humans, is that we're half heaven and half human. Okay. That's the wonderful gift that we've each been given. So how big are the pyramids? Well, again, you're in this expanded energy body. You don't want to make them too big because they'll be unwieldy. You make them too small, and they're not going to have enough force. So I'm recommending that they're, about maybe 4 or 5 inches square around the base. Each side is 4 or 5 inches. Okay. And the bottom one, okay, that's pointing up, just like if you're looking at the Great Pyramid, you would see it pointing up at the sky. We're going to make, for those of us who are not in the process of dying and leaving, which is, I'm assuming, most of you, I'm going to make that solid gold, a solid gold pyramid. It's important that this pyramid has a lot of weight to it. And why is that important? Because that's going to anchor and stabilize the sense of you're moving, as you spin it, that you're moving something that's embodied and solid. Okay. And if you have like just a kind of a pyramid of light there that doesn't have much substance, it will resonate with a different level of your energy body, and you won't be transmuting from such a deep level of embodiment. So it's very important that you have a solid pyramid there with a lot of weight in it. So when you start to spin it, this thing just keeps spinning like a flywheel. Okay. And as we'll see eventually, when you get these things spinning at high speeds, they become like the edges of the pyramids become like a blender, and you start to break up patterns in your energy body, which is just the totality of all the energy fields and channels, meridians that constitute you, okay, at a deeper level underneath your physicality. So we have a gold pyramid on the bottom, okay? This represents Earth, okay? And then we're going to put a purple pyramid with this point facing down. And it's going to be the exact same size, okay? It's going to be a mirror of the gold pyramid. And this one's going to be purple. And I want you to think of maybe like a purple gemstone. The most common one that's purple would be amethyst. There are others as well, but let's just use that one. A solid crystal amethyst, pyramid. And again, we want this to be solid because we want to ground and pull out the substance of heaven. Okay. This could be the patterns of my brother David or Peter, if you're going to focus on them, or it could just be your karmic soul patterns, which are always there in heaven, and you're just going to bring them down here right now. So you're going to have a gold pyramid and a purple amethyst crystal pyramid. They're both solid, they're both heavy, okay? And they're lined up right in the center of your body, okay? And the 2 points meet at the solar plexus. Now, we're going to close our eyes in a minute. We're going to start to practice, how to activate this, okay? But basically, what is required here is what's called internal will or spiritual will. External will, or physical will, is like, okay, I'm raising my hand, I'm speaking, I'm looking out there, I'm doing things outside, I'm putting my will out into physical reality. When you reverse that and you focus internally, your will, you're going to use that same will, but it's focused inside. And that's internal will or spiritual will. And you're going to use it to spin these pyramids in opposite directions. It's actually very simple. Um, but since most of you probably haven't done it before, then it seems like, well, am I going to be successful at this? Whatever. It can be helpful to imagine a gold axis, like a half inch or quarter inch, just a thin gold hole that they're spinning on. Because sometimes when people try to spin them, they go wobbly one way or the other. And so if you set them up on an axis, that can help in the beginning. After a while, you won't need that because it's sort of like a gyroscope. They're going to stabilize and they're going to find their stable position. Okay. So I want everybody just to close your eyes now, okay? Relax your shoulders, relax your chest, your belly, everything, just relax. And expand. Feel your body expanding. Physical body is just shifting into its energetic dimension. And so it's got a lot more room. And then inside, you're going to see this. Let's just imagine there's a gold axis coming from the crown of your head straight down the center of your body, down to the center of your head, center of your heart, center of your belly. And between the heart and the belly is the center of the solar plexus. And then that axis can go further down between your legs, and it can go all the way down to the center of the earth if you wanted to go down there. Okay. So anyway, you see the axis and you see the center line. Okay, that's a way for us to identify the core channel. We don't need to, it's hard for a personality to observe neutral force because it only sees, things through polarity. But we can just know that there is something there, okay, that's going to connect us into some, higher dimensions of ourself. And then we're going to see the gold pyramid, okay? The top of that gold pyramid is in your solar plexus, okay? And the bottom part may be going down towards your navel, okay? And let's start just with the one pyramid, the gold pyramid, and spin that to the right clockwise, okay? We'll call that the manifesting cycle. And just see it spinning on that golden axis. And it doesn't matter whether you start fast or slow. Eventually, you're going to want to spin it faster. But start with it just spinning. Get the sense of that something solid gold in the middle of this expanded energy field is starting to spin. And this represents the purity of matter, which has converted itself, purity of spirit, which has converted itself into matter. So that's why it's gold. It's immortal. Gold never rusts. Okay. So gold is actually spirit in material form. And so we're spinning our gold. Okay. And just play with it. Just take a minute and play with that. Hmm. And once you get it going, spin it faster. It's actually easier the faster you spin it. It starts to stabilize. Hmm. Hmm. Don't mind me. When I start doing this stuff, I pull a lot of energy. So that's why I get a little energetic reaction there. If it wobbles, just hold the axis straight and spin around the axis. Okay. and use your will to stop it from spinning. Just say, okay, we're going to turn the button off the blender. This is like the lower half of a blender. There's two blades, and this is the lower blade. We're just going to push the button. We say, okay, pause. All right. You can open your eyes again, and hopefully you were able to notice something. Okay. I mean, everybody's got outer will, and everybody can focus it internally as inner will. I mean, it's um, it's not really a visualization. It's really an actualization. When you involve your will, you're doing this in your body. It's not like a picture up in your head, like a TV screen you've got, and then you're like trying to move it down there. No, you're actually going in to this energetic shape there and moving it inside of you, and that's your will. That's not just imagination like a TV screen. So you're actually willing it to move down here, and you're activating something. So that's what they call actualization, as opposed to simple imagination and the way that some people use it. Okay. I mean, it is a form of imagination. You could claim that all of creation is, you know, being dreamed or being imagined. All right. Now let's create the purple pyramid. Okay. The amethyst crystal one. And see that same size as the gold one. Close your eyes again and see it lined up. And this time, though, we're going to see a little green pearl between the tips of the two pyramids. Okay. That's going to be our collection point. Now that we're putting the second pyramid in there, now we want to see we have a collection point that's going to focalize and capture the energy from the two spinning pyramids. So close your eyes. You see a little green pearl like an inch across or something, okay? It could be bigger, it could be 2 inches, but no bigger than a golf ball or a small marble or something. And then see the purple pyramid on top of that solid. And again, if you need to use the axis, you can see that going up to the crown of your head and start to spin in the opposite direction, the purple pyramid. Again, we're just now going to let the lower pyramid just rest for a second. We want to just practice spinning the upper one just to get that clear. And again, just turn your will inward, merge into that purple crystal, and then start to spin it counterclockwise if you're looking at it from above. The lower one we did clockwise. Now we're doing this one the opposite way, counterclockwise. If for some reason you spin the other one the other way, it's okay. Just make sure this one is doing the opposite. It's not fixed which one is on top or which one's on the bottom. As long as they're spinning the opposite direction, they're going to work. Again, start to spin it faster. And so from the solar plexus, this will go up and expand to the area of the heart or the base of the heart. Okay. And the lower one is spinning down towards the navel center. Hmm. 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 Once you feel like it's starting to spin and it's stabilizing, it's not wobbling, activate the gold pyramid and then start to spin them at the same speed in opposite directions. Okay. This is like patting your belly and rubbing your head at the same time type of thing, but it's really actually easier because you just spinning one direction and you're willing the other one to spin the opposite direction. And so there's kind of an equal and opposite internal will that's going on here, which is not that hard to get a sense of it because they're balancing each other out. Once you get them in sync, try speeding up the spin clockwise and counterclockwise at the same time. Get them both to spin faster, but make sure that they both increase their speed simultaneously. So it's almost like one piece. And the spin in one direction has a perfectly matched opposite spin in the other direction. Perfect by weight, by speed. And there's that small green pearl in between them, which now might start to glow or become to vibrate or just become more aware because you've got these two spinning spheres which are both spiraling energy into it. Try spinning them even faster. There's no limit to how fast these pyramids can spin. They can spin faster than the speed of light because this is talking about the speed of consciousness, which is not limited by particles moving at 186,000 miles per second. Speed of consciousness has actually been measured by some quantum scientists at 2 billion times as fast as the speed of light. So just play with that and just say, okay, what happens when you start to spin really fast is you can't see the edges of the pyramid anymore. You can't feel them. They turn into two vortexes, which I would describe as like a double tornado. One tornado, coming up from the earth, and the other one, the type of tornado you would see, in photographs pointing down to the earth. So now we have two tornadoes. They're spinning so fast we can't see the edges of the pyramid, but we still have the neutral point, this green pearl, as a point to hold and concentrate the force, the neutral force is being generated between the two tornadoes. So just imagine tornadoes there, a gold tornado below and a purple tornado above. And they're just like a force of nature, but they're exactly focused on the same point and they neutralize each other. And the green pearl captures the neutral force in the center of your solar plexus. Okay, now we're going to add one more thing here, just to let them keep spinning. So now we're going to put a target. Put the target into the green pearl. If your target is my brother, David Winn, you see David's image there, or a feeling that you have for him, of friendship or love, or it could be a memory of a particular moment with him that's coloring it and that you just like really, loved sharing that moment with him. So we'll just start with David, okay? Or you could put my brother Peter in there. okay? Um, or if you don't know either David or Peter, someone else that you do know, okay? If you don't know anybody who you want to use as a target in heaven, then you put your own image in there, okay? Just see yourself there. You're just going to concentrate all this double vortex, these double tornadoes, in your own soul, we'll call it, okay? But if it's David or Peter, then we're building up a resonance with them, okay? Because they use the same method, they're going to recognize it very quickly.
It's 6 o'clock.
So now we're putting the energies of heaven and earth, and we're setting a target. So if you're using David or Peter, then they're in heaven, and we're actually trying to call their vibration down towards our gold pyramid, which is anchoring it, and we just want them to come into the green pearl. That pearl may start to expand. Just strong feeling of love, deep friendship, appreciation for who they are, your relationship with them, and just kind of connect to them on a soul-to-soul level. They're not in a personality body. We can't talk to them. But we can vibe with them. Hmm. Remembering that I taught Peter and David to use a double purple pyramid in the heart. That was to take off. Now we're using a similar, not identical, gold and purple pyramid to call their vibration back down here into our solar plexus center. Or you could be doing the same for somebody else that you know who died, but it has to be someone that you have a personal connection to. Hmm. 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 Okay, let's shift your focus just to the green pearl. David or Peter or whoever else you put there, yourself or somebody else. And just open your heart, smile to them. Just transmit a feeling of love, openness, support, and openness to receive their vibration. Let them share what it's like, their energy is like there in heaven. Let them radiate that into you. Don't worry about the pyramids. If they stop spinning, it doesn't matter right now. We're just focusing on what got concentrated in the pearl. If the pyramids are still spinning, it's also fine. It doesn't matter. So, focused on the green pearl. And on the image or the feeling of David or Peter or whoever else that you put in there. Hmm. Relax. Let the green pearl expand now. Go inside of it as if you were meeting David or Peter or whoever else, or meeting yourself in a heavenly state. And just feeling like your souls are hugging or embracing. And remember, in the soul realm, there's no boundary. So you can merge with somebody and without losing yourself. Still have your own vibrational identity, but still communicate a feeling of love, of friendship, of support. And the support can be coming both ways. You can be supporting your that person in heaven, or they can be supporting you down here on earth. It can be mutual flow between both. Now, you might want to stay in this longer. Maybe it's starting to open up for you and you want to go deeper, but just to keep some time management here, you can do that later. You can practice this on your own. You can continue this. So let's open our eyes. And that feeling can still be there inside of us, but we're now putting our attention back into our personality, our body, mind, and look around the room. And it's vibrating at a slower rate. It's in polarity, it's in density. But we still have this feeling in our core channel of we've opened up a portal, which we can deepen just through practice. You can keep this spinning 24/7. Again, it's like a gyroscope. It'll just keep spinning in inner space. There's no real friction there to slow it down once you get it going. And if you got it going really fast, again, we're going to explain more how it works, and what exactly the edges of the pyramid, what are they cutting up and breaking down, uses a blender with blades. What exactly is being blended? So just take a moment here and you just ground yourself, stabilize, taking some deep breaths. Okay, so now we're going to shift to a discussion about that's the method right there. It's very simple. It's really most effective when you get the pyramid spinning at what we would call hyperdimensional, super fast speeds, the speed of consciousness rather than simply the speed of what you can visually see through your eyes or through your visual imagination. What happens is that these double vortexes, and they start to spin really fast. Again, you can't see the pyramids anymore. You just see the vortex. And that spreads out and becomes what they call a torus shape or a donut. So the two upper and the lower vortexes connect together, and it becomes one whole, shape, which is what a lot of scientists actually think is the shape of the cosmos. But what also happens when you spin these at hyper speeds, that shifts from physical seeing it when you first started slowly spinning to light, and then just to vortexes of light, and then eventually it will shift into sound. So you start to produce a very high-pitched tone. When you get that high-pitched tone, you're really getting into a higher level of heaven. Okay. So let's discuss heaven. What exactly is heaven? First of all, where is heaven? It's inside of you. It's in that core channel. It's not out there. It's not up in the sky. That's all physical plane. All the stars, everything up there, that's all part of the physical plane. If you don't believe me, you can go to the Bible, okay? Kingdom of heaven is within. Okay, it's not without. But the illusion is from the physical body that this is all solid, but it's not. When you go in there, the higher dimensions are actually smaller than the big clunky physical dimension. And this is consonant with what scientists also say. If you want to read a whole book on this, New York Times science writer Michio Kaku wrote a book called Hyperdimensionality. And he explains the same thing. He says, look, the higher dimensions are tiny. They can fit inside this one because they don't have all this bulky physical stuff and they're vibrating faster. Okay. So that's where heaven is. And it doesn't have all these polarities. Okay. That's the main thing. Okay. So in this dance between spirit and matter, this is why we come to Earth to experience the deep, slow side. It's where things get worked out. You can see, the result of cause and effect is like the whole thing's like a slow motion movie. Okay. For spirit's vibrating very fast. So to come down to matter, it's like a super slow motion movie. Okay. But the results are very clear of cause and effect. And that's the value of the physical plane. You see our individuating our will, what are we choosing to love? What are we choosing to, evolve? It's just very tangible here. So that's a great lesson why we come down into, this soul comes down into here and this whole thing is set up. It's like it's like a school, it's like a learning process. When you leave here, okay, 99.99999% of people lose their individual will. They shift into the collective pool of will. Okay. Because they haven't strengthened it enough while they're here on the earth plane, and they just don't have the powerful enough focus and enough neutral force. Essentially, it's how much neutral force do you have? Most people are, like I said, they're 99.9% polarized. But if you do this practice a lot and other practices in Qigong, meditation, other things, there's all kinds of meditation, you build up your neutral force. Okay. And then that allows you to have a higher level of will. So the map of heaven that I use is the one from the Taoists, which claims that there's three major heavens. Okay. There's original heaven, there's early heaven, and there's later heaven. Original heaven or primordial heaven is a state of pure neutral force. It's just this ball of conscious energy. And then it polarizes itself partially, okay? Maybe 75% neutral, 25% polarity. And that's called early heaven. That's the dark ocean, patterns form, and there's something called the 12 tribes, the 12 oversoul groups, okay, which form there and are given the will to step themselves down into the later heaven, which is the physical plane. So the physical plane itself is a heaven. It's the same energy as all the other heavens, okay? It's just vibrating slower. So you don't want to make this big, sharp distinction between heaven and earth. It's just a continuous flow between them. And it's managed by what the ancients called the 12 gods or goddesses, okay? But more neutral way to look at it, I think, is just You see, these are the 12 oversouls that shape the souls that are coming in and trying to manage the souls going out so that everything gets processed. And there's a sense of completion in this evolutionary process, which produces the struggles of good and evil, light and dark, everything else, the male and female battle of the sexes. All of that is just learning material. It's all like, okay, let's let's figure out how are we going to get to harmonize all of this. Okay. So this whole plane here is basically, like I said, it's a school. Okay. It's just a place to learn. And one third of it is on earth. One third of it is coming in down from heaven and stepping heaven down into, from origin, pure neutral force, and into polarity, and then early heaven down, and finally into this later heaven form, where we have an individual body and an individual life. And then we live whatever, however long we live. And then the last third is digesting this, taking this back in, cycling back up into to spirit. Okay. And so you spiral in, you spiral out. It's really that simple. Okay. There's no, it's not like life is over. It's just changed. You're now in the soul form and you don't have a body. Not quite, it's not as quite as warm and fuzzy. I can't hug my brother David, but I can still get his soul vibration. Okay. I can still get, and his soul is like a data chip. Okay. I mean, this is Hindus call this the Akashic records. Okay. Where everything is stored. The soul is watching every moment. They call it the inner witness in some traditions. Okay. The Greeks call it the psyche. It's watching the personality, what you do every day from a baby till the day you die. Okay. So it has a complete recording of your life. Okay. It takes that up to heaven. Okay. That is the valuable data. Okay. The oversouls need that data. Okay. When you die, they want you to collect that and bring that up. Okay. So David and Peter, or if you have somebody else up there, they're now holding that vibration, that memory of their entire life and every experience they had in it. That's why you can get them to replay it. Okay. But the important thing to understand is they've lost their free individual will. They're only part of the collective will now. So they're alive. The soul is immortal. It's not going to die. It can't die, but you have to activate the plane. If you want to play a recording from their life, you have to ask for it. You have to activate it. Okay. So this is what the method here is doing with this pyramids here. We're actually calling them in. They're going to resonate. They're going to recognize this. We have them as a target, and then you can communicate with them. Whatever they're watching in heaven, you're seeing, you can get some taste of that. Or you can possibly help them process. They have a lot of stuff that's not been processed. When they die, I mean, they're carrying a lot of stuff. This is why the Taoists say there are these three major heavens, okay? Later heaven or earth, this middle heaven, and which is often described as kind of a dark ocean. It's just, you can't really, these are forms before they become tangible. And then you go all the way back into source, which is pure neutral force. Okay. It's just divine love, divine unity, divine oneness. Okay. If you want to put it into, Western terms. And so there's two streams here of souls. And it's interesting because, I mean, Plato, who was the student of Socrates and the teacher of Aristotle, major teachers for Western civilization. Plato describes, he says, oh yeah, there's these stream of souls coming in and there's a stream of souls going out. I mean, at his time, there was probably only a population of 100 million. And now we have 8 billion. Okay. So there's literally hundreds of millions coming in and out. These are big streams. But what Plato didn't describe is that they're spiraling around each other. Okay. One is spiraling in clockwise, coming down in, and the other is going out clockwise, going out. Okay. That's why there's spin here. Okay. And there's an exchange that goes on between the incoming souls and the outgoing ones. So this is how the whole thing gets evolved. We know we are here on Earth. The new babies coming in are smarter and more awake and more tuned in than their parents. I mean, I know that. Okay. I mean, my son Emerald, when he was 2.5, he was bossing me around. I asked him, I said, Emerald, why are you bossing daddy around? He looked at me and says, Daddy, that's my job. So, I did call him in as a spiritual teacher for me. Okay. I didn't really have one here in the physical plane. And yeah, he's like showing up. And yeah. So, but here's the thing. The soul's dying. Even if you get a high level of individuation, you still got stuff to be processed. They have to pass that off onto the new souls coming in so it gets processed. So that's part of the karmic streams coming in. Okay, is that the souls already have unprocessed stuff from the souls that are leaving. And then when those incoming stream of souls hits the earth, okay, physical plane, they have to go through the sun and come down through step down through the stars, step into the vibration down to our solar system, down through the sun and through the planets, and then into our one planet Earth, and then from the center of Earth into the egg and the sperm. Okay, that's all soul journey. And then they get loaded in with ancestral patterns from the mother and the father, genetics from each one of them, epigenetics, all kinds of emotional patterns, mental, emotional and sexual patterns. All that gets loaded in. So there's programming from the earth side and from the heaven side. This is why it's so rich and so deep and complex to be a human being. I mean, we have so many layers to us, okay? But this is what has to happen, okay? To get completion for this exchange between spirit and matter, because people, unfortunately, are dying who are not in harmony and not at peace, and they have a lot of unprocessed stuff, okay? Now, in David and Peter's case, they were surrounded by family. They had this loving send-off, made a huge difference, okay? And they're being able to detach from here, go into this double vortex, and then shift their soul into a very high level of heaven, okay? Because they were surrounded by love here, okay? So obviously, the more we love each other, the more everybody is able to flow through this whole, circuit of evolution. But, you know, there's a whole question about reincarnation, and generally, my understanding of it is that, you see, when you're here in later heaven, there's the Taoists describe 36 levels of heaven, but the first 12 are actually here. And that depends on the integration of your 12 organ spirits, which is a fractal of the 12 oversouls that are managing the larger flow of souls. So you have 12 organ spirits that combine to form your personality and your thoughts, and they're your inner voices, all this other stuff. That's standard Chinese medicine as well. Okay. So but if you have a violent death and you suddenly fragment, they scatter, and then those fragments of your organ spirits will get recycled here. That's what reincarnation is. Mostly is it's organ spirit fragments. Okay. And then they stay in the orbit of the earth. They don't even go through the whole thing back to heaven and up here. That's basically someone who's very scared at death, and they scatter, and they're not at peace, they're not centered, they don't have integrity, they don't have will focus. Then some or all of their other organ spirits are going to scatter here. And then those have to be picked up by new incoming souls, okay, who then have memories of that person's life, but it's not like the whole soul came back. Okay, it's just the organ spirits. That's a big discussion topic, but that's my understanding of and what I've received from the moral guides on the other side. The souls themselves do not reincarnate. Okay. So that's the first 12 levels, is like, just how much of the 12 organ spirits do you integrate? And then 13 through 28, the next 16 levels, that's the middle heaven, early heaven. And again, there's traffic going both ways. Okay. There's big exchange going on. And before, the souls incarnate, they have to clean up. And the souls leaving, like Peter and David, or, whoever else, that takes time. Okay. But because this spinning of the pyramids was like a shortcut and raised their soul vibration. Okay. So they got up to the very high end of that just from doing it for 2 weeks with me. I mean, I was very persistent and got them spinning it very fast, taught them how to do that. They have to do it themselves. I can't like hold their hand and pull them through. They have to have their will, their focus. Okay. But they both got it. Okay. They both went there and they're right at the same level, like they're at the very top of that early heaven phase. Okay. Like, I call it level 28. Okay. This 13 through 28 is 16 levels. Okay. And then there's eight more levels beyond that. And that's what they call the eight levels of immortals. Okay. Those who preserve their individual will. Everybody in collective, in the early heavens phase, is in the collective stage. Okay. Coming in or going out. And on the way out, eventually Peter and David will be cycled through into those other heavens and learn how to establish their will and create in a universe created, controlled by some other immortal. Okay. So there's other levels of school that happen after you graduate from the Earth school. Okay. There's higher levels of heaven school there. And of course, there's all these, just like we have bloodlines here on the Earth, some from the parent and some from the mother, the mother and the father, from each parent. The same thing in heaven. Okay. Each parent has got maybe from a different oversoul that's managing their soul. And so some of the kids will be from one oversoul group and another from another oversoul group. This is, how you have this massive job of managing 8 billion souls. I mean, you have to distribute the workload. Okay. This is how it happens. Okay. Um, but again, if you have a religious point of view, it's really no different. Okay, they just have different names. I have Christian friends who say, "Oh yeah, there's a lower kingdom, the middle kingdom, and the upper kingdom." I mean, there's something in Christian process theology where God is not perfect; He's always in process, or he or she, whatever, and it's just all learning. All schools at different levels. So, I mean, there's 45,000 Christian cults. Okay, sects here on the planet. Everyone's got a slightly different belief system about it. So it's not you can have whatever belief you want, and it's not going to matter. It's really going to be like how focused, how much neutral force did you accumulate? Okay. And so, yeah, this is where I like to point out to my Christian friends, I just say, hey, Christians are saying, focusing on Jesus Christ. Well, Jesus was the human aspect. Christ is coming from the ancient Greek for Christos, which means the solar logos. Well, those are the souls coming in and going out. So yeah, you have to pass through Christos or the solar logos, okay? On your way in and your way out, okay? But the sun was around as a being long before Jesus came here. That's just, they just gave it a name and it's designed to stop people from having to, reincarnate their organ spirits. So it's very beneficial. The religions are just trying to get people out of here whole as in one piece, okay? But they're really going to a group soul level, okay? Because the people here don't have a target. They don't know Jesus. They don't know exactly his frequency. They can't, find that and frequency and go to it, okay? And so they start with a group, like I call them a halfway house. They're in level 13 or 14 or 15 of heaven, the early levels of, the lower levels of early heaven. And then they move through slowly, and this exchange of souls going in and out, of this plane here. So yeah, this model can encompass just really many different belief systems, but it's just, relabeled what I call loving energy science. I just try and, separate it out from any particular deities, and it goes beyond material science. Okay. But you can see the overlapping of certain principles like the spin and things like this that, we just take them to another dimension. We see how they're working in, higher dimensions. So I hope that gives you something to think about in terms of where you want to go with your life here and what lessons you want to, this method by expanding your neutral force, building it up at the point between the two pyramids. This gives you greater detachment. Okay. It allows you to connect to beings who are who've left their bodies, but they still have they have an identity. They're a data chip, and they're moving through and still part of the evolutionary flow. Um, but for those who are staying here on Earth, this opens up your core space, and that makes greater flow of energy. And the greater neutral force you have, the more detachment you have, the more you're able to make decisions and not be manipulated by, the polarities. When you're highly polarized, then forces can manipulate you. Okay, whether it's advertising, politics, media, dark side forces, whatever. If the buffer against that is neutral force, okay, you have more neutral force in your core, and then you just watch it. You balance it out instead of being pushed from one side or the other by the polarities. So the method is extremely valuable, even if you're just putting yourself in the center of that and building up your neutral force. Okay, it's beneficial no matter which one you choose to do. All right, I think that we'll open this up to to questions now.